We are back for another exciting episode of the hashtag Wednesday Match Play, and I will say there were a couple, and by a couple I mean about 45 minutes of technical difficulties, and it wasn't just on the guest, it was on me as much as it was anyone, and I actually blame Google for all of that, because as for the past few weeks, the lower thirds are still not working, so I apologize to the hashtag Wednesday Match Play sponsor, Eat Sleep Golf, because we're not able to even show that Eat Sleep Golf is a part of this, but they are. They've got a bunch of questions from tonight's guest, and I'm more excited about anything than the concept behind tonight's guest is that he's got a name that I can easily pronounce. Like even last week, I was like, well, I don't want to make sure I pronounce it correctly. So I'm excited to welcome David Wood to the Wednesday Match Play, and David is for lack of a better term, a world traveler who plays a lot of golf. My friends and family and coworkers say that I play a lot of golf. Well, I don't quite play the amount of golf that this guy has played and in the places that he has played it. He's written a book called Around the World in 80 Rounds, and I'm excited to learn more about that. I've got 10 questions of my own. I've got 10 questions from Eat Sleep Golf, so I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to introduce David. David, welcome to the Wednesday Match Play.
Great to be here, my friend.
So real quick, give us an elevator pitch. We just stepped on an elevator. You got 30 seconds. Tell us what the book is, what it's about, who you are, and why we're excited to learn more about you.
All right. Well, I've had a goofy career path. I actually dropped out of law school years ago to become a stand-up comedian. So my parents were, of course, very proud about that. But you know, when I went to LA to become a comedian, I became a golfer. Because it was nice weather and you work at nights, and I would play golf all the time, and I became a golf addict. And then I started going to like places, like Scotland. I got really into Scotland and Ireland, and I was going every year. And then one day, this is now 20 years later, I'm living in Seattle at this point, and I was getting ready to go back to Scotland, and it popped into my head, what's the southernmost golf course on earth? And I had no clue. And I looked it up, and as near as I could tell, it was Ushuaia, Argentina, the very southern tip of South America. Then I thought, where's the northernmost? And Tromso, Norway, about 15 degrees above the Arctic Circle. And I said, what if some idiot was to travel from the southernmost to the northernmost and play in as many crazy places as he could along the way? And literally from that germ of an idea, in 40 days, I had sold my condo, which is my only asset. I got vaccinated against every disease known to man. I mean, I spent $1,500 at the Seattle Office of Public Health. I could lick a street in Haiti and pretty much be absolutely 100% okay. And I put 10 golf clubs in my golf travel bag, 3 shirts, 2 pair of pants, 3 pair of travel underwear. My friends had the first annual David Wood Memorial Golf Tournament. Thank God there wasn't a second. And I took off and went for a year. And I made my way to South America. And a year later, I ended up at the top of Tromso, Norway. So there you go.
Really cool. I mean, I like how you said the germ of an idea, and that's kind of how some of the best ideas in the world happen. It's a concept, it's a thought, and then let's go do it. So you say Norway, and I'm actually going to Norway next year to play a golf course. Not that one. I'm going to be playing Lofoten Links, which is in Norway, which is actually managed by Troon. So I'm going, one, because it's a course that looks awesome, but 2, they have a budding craft beer scene there, and I'm excited to see what that's like. But also you can see the northern lights from Norway. So what was Norway like, and am I going to enjoy my few 3, 4, 5 days whenever I'm there next year?
Oh, absolutely. I loved it. Now, it was the end of my trip. So that after a year, I become very battle hardened. From just traveling in some very unsavory places. So it was kind of a relief to get to Norway, where it's very logical, and there's, the people are cool, and and the whole thing is, it was all good. But the funny thing was, I played at Tromso, which is, again, 15 degrees above the Arctic Circle. I played golf at 2 in the morning. But the funny thing was, I went back to get my sunglasses in my room before my ride got there to take me out to the golf course. And it's nutty. I mean, it's like noon, and it's 4 in the morning. And the Norwegians are fantastic. And they have this cool thing where you can't go into a golf course until you know the rules of the game and the etiquette of the game, which I think is a great thing. And so, I think it kind of just fits with the whole Scandinavian mindset. But you'll love it.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to go, and I'm going in September because I want to see the Northern Lights. And I debated. I was like, if I'm going that far, though, I have to see the Northern Lights because that's like almost like a guarantee there. Because I mean, you are so far north, but the ability to go play and tee it up at 2 a.m. does sound kind of cool. So I'm glad that you got the chance to do that. So the team from Eat Sleep Golf gave me a ton of good questions, and some of them are the same that I was going to ask, but I'm going to give them credit for this one. How many countries, and from the germ of the idea until you finished, did you visit along the way?
Well, I ended up being in 26 countries. I was in every continent except Antarctica. And I think I think it was like, ended up being like 40,000 miles the whole trip. So it was for a full year. So I was, and plus I tried to go overland whenever possible. So, you know, I flew between continents, but when I was on a continent, I tried to go overland and make the travel as hard as I possibly could.
That's really cool. So out of all of those rounds, what was your single most favorite and what was your least favorite and why?
Well, that's a tough one. I played in the driest golf course on earth at the top of the Atacama Desert in Chile, the very northern part of Chile. And they've had no rain in recorded history. And, you know, I've been living in Seattle, which has the most rain in recorded history. And so they have this great course that's no grass, chalk outlines of the fairway. And if you hit it between the chalked outlines of the fairway, you get to use a little piece of AstroTurf. But if it goes, they have these areas with like blue rocks. Blue rocks, it's like being in a water hazard, and it's just like you're at the bottom of a lake. Or if you hit it in the rough, which is just outside the white lines, there's all kinds of rocks and boulders. I mean, you could break your hand trying to hit the. But that was fantastic. And what I loved about the golfers in Chile, they're very formal, and we're playing this, and the greens were made of a combination of oil, you know, and these guys were plumb bobbing their putts, and I was going, the ball makes a furrow to the hole. It's not gonna be breaking very much. But that was a great round. As far as a tough round, I played in India, and I had a caddy who I had stuck some money in my golf bag. Sure, on the 17th hole, he like four caddied up a little bit, and so I went to my golf bag, and my money was all weird in there. Usually, it's all folded real neatly, and I didn't want to get him in trouble. But I gave him a tip in it, which I knew was the right tip. But he kind of wanted more, and I just looked at him and I said, "Hey, man, I know what you did. You better get out of here right now." And I scared him, and he ran off. So I'm not very tough, but I got to be tough for once in my life. So so many. I got, and as far as great courses, I got to play Royal Melbourne in Australia, which is incredible. I played the hottest golf course in the world in Alice Springs in the middle of Australia. Like I just said, I played the highest course in La Paz, Bolivia, which was incredible. I mean, you're playing at 11,000 feet, so you can really hit the ball. So, yeah, man, there was a lot of fun rounds. I mean, I played everywhere. Russia, and in Cairo, at the base of the Great Pyramids of Giza. I mean, it's incredible. You look up and there's the pyramid is like 200 yards away. And I had a caddy named Farouk, who he goes, I tell you what club to hit. I go, okay, Farouk, whatever, man. And so after the first, he would just hand me a club. And this is going to sound self-serving because I'm not that good of a golfer, but it's not a hard course. But I played this course at the base of the pyramids, and I birdied the first 6 holes. And I'm going, oh my God, I can only play golf. That's the only place that I can possibly play, which really narrows down your options. But and the funny thing about Farouk is we're having this great time and we're chatting, and on the 16th hole he says, sir, I have to go home. I said, oh, okay, Farouk, whatever, good man. And so I tipped him, gave him money, and Farouk just waddled off, and I went and played the rest of the round. So he was like, all right, whatever.
They do it different in Cairo, apparently.
Absolutely.
So the foreword of the book was written by Turk Pipkin, and I have no idea who that is. So tell us who that is, how you know him, and why you picked him to write the foreword.
Well, Turk Pipkin is a good friend of mine. You know, the first time I ever worked on the road as a comedian was in Atlanta, and I was living in LA at the time. And Turk Pipkin, who was a juggler and a comedian, was on the bill with me, and we became friends, and so we'd play a lot of golf. First time I went to Scotland and Ireland was in 1991, and I went with Turk and his wife Christy. And Turk is he used to write for all the major golf magazines. He's like Willie Nelson's best friend. He's written a ton of books, movies. He was on The Sopranos as Janice's boyfriend. So he's had this wild career. He's building schools and wells in Kenya. He and his wife do that. So he's had this amazing career. So he's a great guy. One of my favorite people.
So what was the single most memorable course? I mean, you mentioned a couple of memorable ones, and it may be one that you've already mentioned. What was the single most memorable course that out of all the courses you played in that year, what was the one that you will never forget?
Well, I would say that playing golf in Zimbabwe, which they have terrible economic crisis in this country. I mean, they have the highest inflation in the world. And I stayed at this place. I went to this place called Elephant Springs, which is in Elephant Hills, which is in near Lake Victoria Falls. And there's so much strife there, you really can't even travel there. And there's a U.S. State Department ban against traveling there. But I went anyway, at this Intercontinental Hotel. And the golf course behind the hotel is like, excuse me, there'll be 20, 30, 40 animals on every hole. Evans. I'd say, Evans, where do I hit it? He goes, just aim at the water buffalo. And I say, which one? There's like 30 water buffalo, out where your drive's supposed to be.
That is
And you're walking
cool.
on the fairway, and a whole family of baboons that walk by, and there's zebra and warthogs. So that really sticks out. That really stays in my mind.
Pretty sure I need to go play that golf course. That sounds awesome. So you said you were a stand-up comedian. Tell me a joke. Now, hang on. Now, before I let you tell me a joke, someone on Twitter today said that you were safe for work. So this is a family-friendly show, so I appreciate you keeping it as such. So tell me a politically correct and family-friendly joke.
Well, it doesn't really work this way. And I was a clean performer. I never swore on stage, but give a joke. This is pressure. So okay. A lady takes her dog to the vet. Says, doctor, every time I turn my back, my dog starts humping my leg. And the vet says, you want him fixed? She goes, no, just trim his nails. So there you go.
That's pretty good. I've never heard that one before. That's really funny. So the book, I get the idea of writing a book. Two-part question. Is it your first book you've ever written? And have you written any since, I guess? And then what about a blog? Have you considered blogging as in addition to the book?
Oh, I mean, I would love, I'm in the process. I've been working on a crime novel for the past few years, and I have a great agent, and she wanted me to work on a memoir. I had a very wild childhood, so I've been working on that. The book led me to being a golf writer. I mean, I kept getting offers to write for various magazines, and I kept going on media trips as a writer. So that's basically what I've done as far as writing. I mean, I should blog more than I do, but nothing makes me happier than writing. There's nothing better than trying to figure it out. Writing is very painful. I don't care what anybody says, but it's such wonderful satisfaction. It's like when the book, I was lucky to get, when my book got published, I got this great agent named Jane Dystel, who used to be Barack Obama's agent. And, she said she wants to represent my book. She sent it out. I think 12 companies bid on it. And, it got published by St. Martin's Press, which was fantastic. And, it's so funny. The day the book came to my place in Seattle, the actual book, the real book, the cover, the whole thing, I took it out of the package, and I just stared at it because it was so much time and effort and thought. And I just set it on my desk, and I couldn't open it. I just kind of walked around it like it was like this, rare jewel. And it took me like 45 minutes to actually just pick it up. And, putting your own book on a bookshelf, I must say, is one of the great thrills that you can have as a writer.
That's really cool. Well, as far as blogging is concerned, my blog, if you ever want to contribute to it, it's wide open. You are more than welcome to guest post anytime you want. If you've ever got something you want to say, my blog is filled with golf content, F&B content, electronic dance music content. I do interviews just like this, but I do them via print. I've actually interviewed close to 600 artists,
Wow.
musicians, DJs, you name it. And this is just another avenue for that. And that offer is always there if you ever do want to have a blog that's somewhere on the top of your head and nowhere to post it. My blog is always open. So,
well, thanks, my friend. Funny is I looked at it real quick before I came on. I did a quick search of you and saw the site, and I was very surprised by the variety of topics. So, that really interests me. It's like my book. A fairway is a fairway. Nobody cares if I hit a 5-iron. Stories, it's the different stuff, it's the people. So that's, like on my trip, I was in 2 civil wars. I was in a civil war in Bolivia, and I was in a civil war in Kathmandu. I got arrested going into Ukraine, and I was taken off a train at gunpoint. I got altitude sickness going over the Andes at 16,000 feet. So I got terribly sick in India, which, by the way, if you want to lose weight, go to India, eat anything anywhere, and just watch the pounds just fall right off. It's like one big Jenny Craig Center. This whole country is just fantastic. And then I got sick in Cairo too. I got sick, but that's the great thing too, is that if bad stuff happens, which a lot of good stuff happened, but it's more fun to write about bad stuff. And a fairway is a fairway. It's the people you meet, the characters, the scenery, the sights of the world. That's really where the great stuff is.
So I was telling you before we went live that we like to travel a lot, and yeah, the good stuff is great, but you expect the good stuff. You travel for the good things. You know the good things are going to happen, but it's the negative things. Now, I've obviously never been taken off of a train at gunpoint yet, but I wouldn't be worried if I did. Like, I might be worried in the moment, but the idea that you are able to travel the world and have those things happen to you, it makes you who you are today, and it makes the book what it is, and it makes the stories that, yeah, great, the golf and the golf courses, whatever, but it's the stories that you were able to tell and experience along the way that allows you to sit there right now and put a smile on your face talking about the sickness at 16,000 feet. So it's nice and refreshing to meet someone that's got those. I'm going to be in Brussels in a few months, and people are like, oh my God, I cannot believe you're going to Brussels. Why would you do that? They got hit with an attack. And I'm like, Brussels is probably one of the safest places in the world right now, but that station that was hit in that attack, I've been there. Like, it's not like it's like I literally took a nap in that train station. So I can't imagine the thought of not going to places and not doing things because of what you've experienced and the few things that I've experienced. And that makes the quality of the book and the conversations that you and I are able to have right now that much more powerful. So you keep doing what you're doing, and I love that. So out of all the places that you played in that year and that journey that are a part of the book, what was the most you paid for a round of golf, and what was the least you paid? And I assume that somewhere along the lines they were like, yeah, just go play, and you played for free. But quite frankly, somebody might have paid you to play. But the most you paid and the least you paid.
Well, it's funny you say that, is that I basically, I'm not a wealthy person, and I sold my only asset to do this. And so what I did is I wanted to be able to write whatever I wanted to write. And I didn't want to be beholden to anybody. So I would go to places and I would just present myself. And I would tell them what I'm doing. 95% of the time, they would just say, kind to me, they just would say, hey, where are you staying? I said, well, I'm not sure. And they said, well, you stay at my house. Or people in New Zealand. I had this guy in New Zealand I'm playing, which I love New Zealand. It's just one of my favorite places. Golf with this guy up at the top of New Zealand near 90 Mile Beach. We're playing golf, and he says, why don't you come over for lunch after we play? And he says, I won't be there, just go on in. Who does that? Who just lets you in their house? I mean, nobody, but that's what I did. And what I did too on this trip is I accepted every offer. If you offered it to me, I mean, like, you might say to me, hey Dave, let's go play golf somewhere. But I would go, oh no, thank you. I might, even if I wanted to, I wouldn't want to like impose. Everything anybody offered, I did it. So that led to great things. The most I paid was Royal Melbourne. That was one of the, and I paid, pretty good money. I played 300. That might have been Australian, but that was the most I paid. But the whole trip ended up costing me about, it wasn't that bad, like $60,000 for the year.
That's not that bad. Travel included in that cost?
Everything. But I tried to travel hard as possible, as when I possibly could. So, that was about it. And I rarely paid for golf, to be honest with you. But again, I just presented myself, and the kindness of the world just kind of, it just kind of happened.
That's awesome. So the book, where can people get the book, and how much is the book if somebody wanted to buy it?
Well, that's funny. The book is, mostly the easiest place is on Amazon.com. You can buy it all. I even did the audio version. So there's Kindle, there's paperback. There's still some hard copies. Run was sold out of that. So you can buy them. Amazon.com is the easiest place to buy around the world in 80 rounds. And I think it's $12 for paperback. I think the Kindle might be $5.99. The audio version might be I don't know, $15. I don't know, but it goes to a good cause, which is me. So please go out there.
Now, how many copies of the book have you sold? Do you have a number in your head? Do you keep track of that, or do you even know?
Well, no, I don't really know per se. The original print run, the first of hard copies, I think was 30 or 35,000, and that was all gone. As far as the other ones, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but it's been, I've gotten all my money back, which is great. And again, it's, I now live in New York City, and because I have literary aspirations, and I just want to keep writing and want to write more books. And so that's, that's what I want to do.
So Eat Sleep Golf says, how did you ever begin planning a year-long trip around the world? Did you plan the trip based on places you wanted to visit and the courses you wanted to play? So did you know when you were going to Zimbabwe what course you were going to play, and when you went to Norway what course you were going to play, or did you just go and figure it out?
No, I just figured it out. Basically, I had the first course and the last course. So I knew I was going to start at the southern tip of South America in the beginning of spring, and I would end up a year later at the top of Norway, in Tromso, Norway. And I knew I was going to move west. I was going to follow the sun. I went all through South America. Then I went to New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, up the Malay Peninsula, into Thailand. I played in Burma, Laos, Vietnam, China, India. Then I went to South Africa, Zimbabwe, Egypt, Turkey, Hungary, Finland, Norway. So, I basically and I had no intention to play like the highest golf course in the world in La Paz, or the driest in Arica, Chile, or the hottest in Alice Springs, Australia. It just kind of happened. And then somebody would offer me something, I'd say, yeah, I'll go. So I just went wherever I could. And the one thing I tried to play public golf wherever I could. It's very much a rich person's sport around the world. But I played the only public course, for example, in India. Public courses in Argentina. I played one, and there's very few. But I always tried to find where would idiots like me play in this country. And so that was kind of one of my ruling thoughts about where to go.
So the hottest golf course, how hot was it when you played it? Do you remember?
The hottest is in Alice Springs, but I've been traveling in such hot places that I was kind of like, I was getting like lizardish. I could start to take the heat, which usually I can't. It wasn't that bad in Alice Springs. It was probably around 100, but it was way hotter in Singapore and Thailand. It's so crazy hot, and it's so humid. I remember I had the feeling that if I had a golf hat on, I remember thinking if I put an egg on my head in this hat, I could cook that egg in like 2 minutes. It's just so amazingly hot. It's, oh my word. And India, oh, that's just brutally hot. And you've got smells which you don't think will ever leave you. And there's cows ever. It's funny. I was staying in Delhi. I'll tell you a couple of India stories real quick. I was staying at this hotel in Old Delhi, and I walked out of my hotel, and there was this giant cow sitting right in front of the hotel. And I remember I stepped over the cow to go into the street, and this monkey flew by me and climbed up the side of the hotel and went in this window that was open. I was thinking, is that my window? Is this monkey like going into my room? But India is just a trip. And then I took a train ride from, excuse me, I took a train ride from Delhi to Bangalore, and I paid a bribe to get my own sleeping berth. And I get to my berth, and there's a family of 3 and a chicken in there. So I became a member of the Singh family for a few days, going down the middle of India. So India's a wild place. It's a wild place.
That sounds like I want to go there. We were just talking about, I don't know where I'm going for my beer trip in 18. Maybe India is where we will go. So what was the craziest, and it sounds like you just had a couple there, like a monkey running into your hotel room. What was the craziest off-course experience that you had in your journey?
Well, I had so many. I mean, a couple. I mean, I was watching the Civil War in Kathmandu in Nepal. And I went to Nepal knowing there were civil wars there, but I just had to get out of India. I was so sick that I went to Kathmandu. And I started going down and watching the fighting between the students and the government. And I'm like ringside. I got so fascinated by just standing around watching this action. I mean, it was that was crazy, but I realized that, and I'm a coward. I'm the biggest coward who's ever lived, but I enjoyed it. Arrested in Ukraine. I was going from Budapest to Moscow. I wanted to play the Moscow Country Club. Had this great train berth. I was so happy. I had all this food that I had bought, and I was going to spend 2 days going by train through East Europe and go to Russia. I mean, how often do you get to do that? And I was so happy. Had this beautiful knock on the door. We stopped at the Ukraine border, and there's a knock on the door, and this beautiful guard, she's all decked out, and she says, "Papers." And I said, "Well, oh, here you go. Here's my passport. Here's my place in Russia where I'm staying for Ukraine." I go, "No, I'm going to Russia. I'm not stopping Ukraine." She goes, "Must have visa for Ukraine." So 2 armed guards show up. They've got guns. I'm in there. I had all these magazines. I had all this food. I was never been so happy in my life. They packed it all up, led me into this decrepit border that was filthy. And these guards, I mean, it was like so filthy. You think, aren't these army people? Aren't they supposed to like mop? But it was this filthy place. And every time they would take me to the bathroom, take me in with armed guards. So, it was just so, and they kept looking at my golf travel bag. I had everything in my golf travel bag, they didn't know what was in there. I'd say that was scary but I kept thinking, just stay awake. This is going to be fun to write about. And the next morning, they're going to put me on a train back to Budapest, and they want me to pay for it. But this time I was like, I was all upset. I go, "Nah, I'm not paying." Screaming at me, and I'm screaming at them. And so finally they just put me on the train. I went back to Budapest, bought a ticket into Moscow on Aeroflot, which is like as scary an airline as there possibly ever can possibly be. I don't know how this plane got off the ground, but then got to Moscow, which was fantastic. So yeah, those kind of stand out as different stories. But there's so many. I mean, I was lucky in that.
That is crazy. I've never been arrested in a foreign country. I have been chased with armed guards with AK-47s through the streets of Poland. I didn't know what they were saying, so I'm not going to stop.
That counts.
I don't know.
That counts.
Now, real quick, because I don't know if you do. I mean, you might not, and I don't. And I've never had an issue with it, but do you speak any other languages?
No, I'm terrible. I mean, I try as hard as I can. And, I tried to study Spanish before I went, and I get to South America out of somebody's head, and then it's like totally different. And that's embarrassing to me, because you go around the world and people speak several languages. So I'm not happy with that. But everywhere I went, I always tried to make an effort. And if you make an effort to speak as best you can in their language, even like the very minor things. They really help you. And most places speak English. The only place that really doesn't at all is Russian. That you don't speak Russian. So that was the only place where it was really a problem. Most everywhere I could get by for the most part.
So let's say somebody's sitting there watching this right now and they're like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a year, I'm going to take my money, and I'm going to go do this. What advice would you have to somebody that's literally grabbing their clubs right now to head out the door?
I would say don't plan it, wing it. Put yourself out there a bit. You know, just give in to the kindness of the world, and it makes you kinder too. You know what I mean? Just you know, go see what's going on. And again, you know, golf was the smallest part of the journey for me. Like every, you know, sometimes I play several days in a row, but usually I play like every 4 days. But I wanted to see the great sights of the world too. You know, I got to see, you know, the Taj Mahal and the Great Pyramids, and you know, the Zambezi River. So that's the cool thing. And so, but the golf was a through line for it. And again, everybody was so kind to me. I mean, for the most part, golf courses were really, really kind. So I would say go out there, you know, get out of your comfort zone, try something different, challenge yourself.
That's awesome. Great advice. I applaud that and appreciate that. So is there, I mean, you talk about wanting to write another book. Will it be another golf book, travel book? Like what's the next book going to be?
Well, I've been writing this crime novel, and there is golf in it, but I have everything from, I've got witness protection, I've got Russian mobsters, I've got a dominatrix, I've got a stripper, I've got FBI, I've got 2 murders in the first 2 chapters. So, and that's, you know, it's really fun to write, but there is golf in that. The memoir I've been working on is that just the story of my childhood, which is I had a very wild upbringing, and my mom was a very unusual person. So I got for a site called Narratively here in New York City, and well received. And so, that kind of leads into my stand-up comedy career. So those are the 2 things I'm working on. You know, I definitely want to write a movie. So I've got all kinds of ideas, and I just want to keep going.
I think you've said that about your childhood a couple of times. We might have to have a second hangout to chat about your childhood. So out of all the places in the world that you've been, all the places that you've seen, and you impress the heck out of me, it's my bucket list to visit every country in the world. I have a friend that's actually it's actually more her friend than my friend that's finished that. He did that. He finished it about a year and a half ago. Turned his love for travel into a career, and he's an author and a blogger and a speaker. And he capped that list of all the countries, all the recognized countries, about a year and a half ago. But out of all the places that you've been, where's the one place that you want to see that you haven't?
I've never been to Japan. I'm very curious about going to Japan. I'm trying to think. I've been to most. That's a big one. You know what? I'm embarrassed to say this. I've been to Europe. I've never been to Spain. I've never been to Portugal. All the surrounding countries, and that embarrasses me. I would love to go take trains in Spain. That would make me happy. And by the way, if there's a train, I was on the train. And so that was a big thing with me, is I got to the great train rides in the world. I took the Indian Pacific, which goes straight across Australia from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City. I took a train from Delhi to Bangalore. I took the Great Karoo Express, which goes from Johannesburg to Cape Town in South Africa. And even the trains in Russia. I took a great train from Moscow to Helsinki, which was a fantastic train. So if there was a train, that's the way I love to travel.
I have to agree with you, because I have a friend that lives in Switzerland, and he said before, he was like, the best day that he can remember of his time, he's not from Switzerland, but he lives there now, is that when he said he had breakfast in one country, lunch in another, dinner in another, and drinks in another. And I'm thinking, you had a day in 4 countries, but train travel makes it that easy. And it's not even, we sometimes like to compare countries like the States here in the US, but they're not. They're even smaller, and it's a much easier process to get around than it is here in the United States. And I I hope that you get to Spain. I hope that you get to Portugal, because I've not been to Portugal, but there's so many great places in Europe. Like, Europe is kind of my happy place, if you will.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I'm going to Ireland next month. I'm excited, a little vacation playing golf in Ireland, which I've been there many times, but going to Ireland.
When are you gonna come to Scottsdale so we can tee it up, man? I feel like we gotta go play 18 holes together. I mean, that would be.
Hey, man, I would love that. I would love to play golf with you. I love how adventurous you are, and I love that you're doing this stuff and you're not doing it, in essence, the normal way. You know what I mean? You're, man, so good on you.
Normal is boring. I don't know anything about normal. So
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I literally didn't even think to tell you that your half an hour would fly by. We've already been talking for about 35 minutes. But before we go, let's take a step back from the book. We're gonna do the lightning round. This is just 9 fun questions that are about you, a little bit about golf. There will be a question about the guy that's staring over my shoulder right now, because every episode of pretty much every conversation that I'm in about golf pretty much goes to that guy. So are you ready for your lightning round?
Let's bring it on.
So who is your all-time favorite PGA Tour player?
If you consider Seve a PGA Tour player, it's Seve. Otherwise, Tiger Woods. I mean, I'm just the biggest Tiger Woods fan, other than you, I think, that there is.
I think we just became best friends, because that's not something that gets said a lot from the other side of the camera. So that makes me pretty excited. What driver are you currently playing?
I'm playing the TaylorMade I want to say, I'm not a good technical guy, so all I know is I'm a real purist, but I do love that driver. I think it's the 12, or maybe it's the 17, or it's one of the new ones, and it's white and it's big and
awesome. What is your favorite PGA Tour major championship?
Oh, British Open.
I love
the British Oaks. I've got to play. I've not played any of the ones I played them all in Scotland. So yeah, I love links golf. So it's the way to play golf.
I dig it. So in all of the rounds of golf that you played, surely you've had an ace, right?
Never had an ace. I've hit it. I've always a bunch of times, chipped in a course a bunch of times. You know, it's funny. I was playing this course in New Zealand by myself. I got to know the manager of this course, and I was staying at his house. I said, "Hey man, can I go play the course first off by myself?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." Playing by myself. I'm on this little par 3. It's like a little wedge, a hole, and I hit this shot, and I'm going, "That's going to go in the hole." For like the first second, I'm going, "That's going to go in the hole," and I'm watching the whole thing, and I'm petrified it's going to go in the hole, because I'm going to get a hole in one by myself and nobody's going to believe me. So it rolled up, and it was like, and in a way, I was kind of relieved that it didn't go in. But I've seen 4 with groups I've played in, but I've never gotten one. So it's elusive, but I'm still going for it.
I've seen 2, one on a par 3 and one on a par 4. So I think I'm going to be like 94 before I get my first one. Like, that's the way it's going to work.
Well, my goal is to be the greatest 100-year-old golfer in history. So that's what I'm shooting for.
I love it. What golf ball do you play?
I love Titleist golf balls. To me, there's nothing prettier than a brand new Titleist. I don't care what anybody says. It just looks the way a golf ball should look. You know, when you open a sleeve of Titleist and you take them out, it's so exciting, you know. And then you tee it up on the first hole and you hit it in the water, and you're like
so $6.
Yeah, that beautiful Titleist is now gone.
What is your favorite golf movie? There's a bunch of them to choose from.
Hey, Goldfinger. Goldfinger, where James Bond plays against Goldfinger. That is the greatest golf scene ever, and it's very intricate. Match play rules of golf. So that's my golf movie. I did like the one with Francis We Met, where it came out. What's that? I forgot what they called it. The movie that I thought that was really well done. Shoot, what was that called?
What was that called?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I can't remember it.
You could have taken the easy way out and just said Caddyshack.
I'm not the Caddyshack fan that people are. I'm not, for some reason. It's not. I like it, but I'm not like people are. So, yeah, I don't know.
I like to say before my time because it was before my time. So I like to say that, and I get grief quite a bit. And the other day, somebody was like, "Before your time, you're the same age as me." And I was like, "How old are you?" And he's like, 36. And I'm like, "Yep, I'm nowhere near that." So I'm much younger than that. I am younger than that, but I'm not that much. But so I think I'm going to like how you're going to answer this. I mean, David Faraday comes out today and says he doesn't think that he's ever going to play again, that Tiger's done and he's going to hang up the cleats. The thing where he hit the 3 balls in the water last week was probably one of the funniest things I've seen of Tiger in the longest time because people are freaking out about it thinking that was real. He did that so on purpose. That shows how dialed in he is. But do you think Tiger breaks Jack's record? Why or why not?
I hope he does. We can't. It's hard to gauge Tiger because we can't compare him to anything else. I mean, he has 79 wins. So his career is basically, in essence, 2 or 3 times Mickelson, if not more. Times Watson. And he's still young. So you got to, if Vijay Singh could win in his 40s and his late 40s, I got to believe that Tiger Woods can win and can win majors. So
I think that he could win at Augusta forever. He could be 60 and win at Augusta, and he could win at St. Andrews. And it pops up with the Open Championship at St. Andrews quite often. So I feel like those are the 2 places. I think that he gets Augusta. That's his next major because I think that's a good place for him to come back. The media is lower key. It's a smaller crowds, and that's a place that he's comfortable. And I like your answer. You said yes. So the places that you've been, there are a couple of countries that you've not played. What's the one course that is atop your must-play bucket list that you haven't played that is, back to your point, publicly accessible? A course that you can get on. Like you can't say somewhere that's just ridiculously private. What's the one course that you've never played that you can't wait to play?
Well, the one that comes to the top of my mind, I'm not an Augusta guy, as weird as that is, but that's ultra private. I lived in LA forever. LA Open. Well, I call it the LA Open still. I love Riviera. Public courses, I've played most of the great public courses. Maybe some of the public courses in England. Tough one. I'm pretty good. My resume, my golf course resume is pretty good. I got to play Cypress Point. I played Pebble Beach. I can only think of the real private ones that probably wouldn't let a scallywag like me play. So those are the ones that I play public golf, but I can clean up and go to I'll show up and turn up okay.
And your final question of your hashtag Wednesday match play is, my God, you've had such an awesome run at it, an awesome career. I cannot wait to read the book. I didn't read it in preparation for this because I knew that I would use the interwebs to be able to figure out as much as I needed to know about you, and I probably learned more than I should. What is next for David? What's coming up next in your world?
Well, I'm curious what's next. I'm excited. I mean, I don't know what next is, but whatever it is, I want that. I have a lot of weird skills, and I think writing. I'm just going to keep writing. I'm going to keep trying to be fun, to do everything I can do, and then I don't know about anything big, but I don't know. But whatever it is, I'm ready for that, and I'm excited about it.
Well, you have been a fantastic guest of this show. I can't thank you enough for coming on, and my God, you have inspired me. I'm going to Vegas soon, and I normally do the same old. Well, just your whole mentality about just letting it happen, letting it take you where it takes you is definitely going to inspire that trip, and it's going to inspire my future travels, both here domestically and internationally. So thank you for doing that, and I hope somebody else out there watching is inspired to pick up their clubs and go play at the either southernmost, northernmost, or to play all of the places in between. And we're out of time for this week's episode, but we'll be back real soon. And remember, you have to eat, sleep, golf.